Hi, welcome to this Rapid TV News video. I'm Joe O'Halloran, Editor-in-Chief, and I'm here with Faisal Mahomed, Director, BT Media and Broadcasting. So, it's been 3 years since our last IBC, and 3 years ago, BT had a magnificent booth in the open air showing 4K. That was revolutionary at the time. How have the last 3 years changed? Is this now what was revolutionary now a commodity?
I can't actually believe that was 3 years ago. I think being back at IBC just brings all the memories back to us. So 4K Liverpool versus Newcastle was the game. Since then, our organisation's been on a hell of a journey. We've now broadcast in 8K. We're now able to remotely produce games, which means the production suite, the galleries, can be anywhere, either in the UK or globally, due to high-speed connectivity. And just more recently, we're now able to broadcast through 5G. So a lot has happened in the last 3 years.
How do you think the industry in general has changed in these 3 years of unprecedented business transformation?
It's been one hell of a change. When the pandemic first hit, they had everyone in a frenzy on how they continue to get content to customers. You can imagine more people are viewing televisions or content on screen than ever before, but it's harder than ever to produce that content to get to screen. So this is really interesting paradox. The biggest thing was, how do they operate flexibly around the country? Now, I just mentioned remote production. That gave broadcast an opportunity to be able to produce content from their homes, from different parts of the country, regardless from where the event would be. So flexibility was fundamental. And the second thing was cost. The pandemic, the economic crisis has put a huge strain on not just personal finance, but corporation finances. Margins have been squeezed. So how you're able to deliver content in a cost-effective manner is absolutely crucial. Even for us as an organisation, it's caused us to rethink how we deliver content. And just 18 months ago, we launched Vina, our smart broadcast platform, which essentially allows, through a panel, broadcasters and media outlets to self-serve and book where their feeds go to themselves, rather than calling up, setting up configurations, so saving a huge amount of cost and time.
Do you think that's something with the customers, their budget areas and priorities have changed completely over the last 3 years?
I think so, and as well as the cost side, we're increasingly hearing a lot around monetization, because the advertising market in certain parts also collapsed over the past couple of years. It was harder to get advertising revenue, whether it was through traditional adverts, whether it was external, whether it was through competitions. And actually how you are flexible with content that allows it to be monetized is quite important. One of the demonstrations that we're displaying this time at IBC allows rights holders and broadcasters to target and change advertising using an AI module that we have at BT Tower. So if you're sending content to Asia or the United States, it could be the same game, the same program, but different adverts are shown on panels and boards and graphs or on screens, which is game-changing.
And is this using the power of the BT Global network and IP-based communications in general?
Yeah, totally. I mean, we have our long-established global media network, which presence all over the globe. But actually, we've also supplemented that as well recently with what we call Virtual Media Connect, because you have different tiers of content, and premium content, broadcasters will look for that to go over a low latency, highly secure, reliable network. Lower tier broadcasters may want to push content over the public internet, whereby a dedicated global internet isn't always appropriate. So we've created technologies that allow us to encode, secure, and transport at a good commercial value for both parties.
Now, you mentioned 5G. which is revolutionary if even 4K Ultra HD isn't these days. What are you doing in 5G, both from displaying content to consumers and also using 5G networks in a private network capacity?
5G, I think, is one of the most revolutionary technologies that's being rolled out by BT. If you think previously at a sports event, you'll have cables into cameras, and where you may need wireless, you may use an RF signal. What 5G allows is ultra high bandwidth for transmission of content. You can now bring the cameras into dressing rooms around the stadium, and not only for video, you can have audio, you can have talkback, you can have a whole range of other data features through that 5G connection. So that's the first almost use case as such for production. The second thing is having 5G private networks within the stadium allows the stadium and the teams, or whichever event, to create a whole range of in-stadium propositions. The worst thing is when you're watching a game and suddenly you can't upload, you can't send messages, and you can't interact with content at the stadium happens. 5G enables that. Back in May, we had our first live 5G broadcast over a private network, which was the Saracens game. Very, very successful, very pleased. And we had some great partners, Neutral Wireless, Visilink, Mobile Viewpoint, Broadcast RF, which are fantastic organisations, alongside our partners EMG and BT Sport. But we then really developed that further. So for the Commonwealth Games, we also had a 5G private network, was delivering probably one of the most watched events this year around the country over 5G.
So finally, Faisal, the next 12 months, there's some revolutionary technologies here, even low Earth orbit satellite comms. What can we expect to see in the next 12 months?
I think increased transformation that are being driven by broadcasters. The Netflix model, with the recent moves in their share price, has shown that even some of the best performing content organisations need to consider how they're operating, and that has huge implications for some of the public sector broadcasters within the UK. So considering how commercial models set up is probably one of the big things. But then how we then use technologies to support that. How do you use a combination of different distribution avenues, whether it's fixed, wireless 5G, wireless RF, getting that mix right is going to be fundamental for setting the landscape for the future. And this is exactly where we're looking to be.